New things are scary. We don't want to put stuff in our bodies that we don't understand, and trust me, I am with you. I was as skeptical about this vaccine as anyone else. Fortunately, the person I collaborated with on this video has worked in clinical trials for 20 years and is over the moon about this whole vaccine process and how it's going. And after writing this, I am too. So let's talk about the top 9 COVID vaccine concerns and why they shouldn't actually scare you.
Wasn't it rushed? How do I know it's safe?
Definitely a valid concern. Fortunately, the vaccine wasn't actually rushed so much it was prioritized. The thing about normal vaccine research is there is a lot of it. So many people are working on so many different things at the same time, and if you want FDA approval, you have to get in line. Fortunately, the FDA moved COVID to the top of the stack because it's, COVID. There's still 3 phases of clinical trials and still just as rigorous a development process as any other vaccine. They just got to it first. It's less about time and more about resources. Like, say you wanted Starbucks, but there was a line of 10,000 people. But they let you skip to the front of the line because it's your birthday. You wouldn't worry about the coffee being rushed or poorly made. You just know you get it sooner because you're the special birthday boy. Think about it this way. If every trial had the funding and personnel that the COVID trials had, medicines would be developed this quickly all the time. And if you're worried about how money factors into all of this, I wouldn't. Like MSKCC.org says, these data are reviewed by groups independent from the pharmaceutical companies that make the drugs. There are experts that have no stake in the vaccine development or commercialization. The only thing really worth noting about money is that, for this vaccine, we have a lot of it.
I don't want to be a lab rat for this brand new vaccine.
Yeah, me neither. Fortunately, we're not. That falls to the folks who participated in the clinical trials. The phase 3 clinical trial for the Pfizer vaccine alone had 43,000 participants, and the Moderna trial had 30,000. A random 50% of each got the vaccine, and the other half got the placebo. So, do a little math, about 36,000 people got vaccinated in these 2 trials. That's quite a lot of people. And these folks got their shots back in July 2020, 6 months ago now. As of this writing, 18.5 million people have received at least 1 dose of the vaccine in the US alone.
But what about the side effects?
Yes, there are a couple side effects reported with the vaccines, namely sight pain, fatigue, muscle pain, joint pain, and in some cases fever. This is normal and almost always goes away after a day or 2. This is just the vaccine revving up the immune system and doing its thing. So just sit back, relax, take a day off, and just know that whatever these minor temporary side effects are, they're a heck of a lot better than COVID. But what about delayed side effects that don't rear their heads until months later? Well, to be honest, that pretty much never happens. Any vaccine side effects, whether they be the standard stuff like sore arm or more serious side effects like allergic reaction, usually occur within minutes or days after vaccination and almost never after 2 months. That's why these trials that started 6 months ago are so optimistic. It is unbelievably rare for side effects to show themselves this late in the game. Now, you may have heard about some of the allergic reactions. Obviously, if you have a really bad allergy already, you should talk to your doctor first. For everyone else, the CDC has reported 10 cases of anaphylaxis over 4 million doses of Moderna and 21 cases of anaphylaxis over 1.9 million doses of Pfizer. That is 31 total cases out of 5.9 million doses. So basically, 0.0005% of those 5.9 million doses caused an anaphylactic reaction. That is 1 in 190,322. To put it in perspective, 1 out of every 13.5 people in the US have gotten COVID, and 1 in every 812 have died from it. Which bet are you gonna take?
What's the mRNA vaccine? Isn't that some untested experimental thing?
Not really. Researchers like Catalin Carrico have been studying how to use synthetic mRNA to fight diseases for decades. It's already been studied for flu, Zika, rabies, and cytomegalovirus. Plus, cancer research has already used it. So when COVID came along, researchers had been working with this stuff for a while. What makes it different from a normal vaccine? Well, a traditional vaccine puts a weakened or inactivated germ into our bodies so we can develop the antibodies to fight it. The mRNA ones don't even do that. See, COVID-19 has a spike protein on its surface that lets it attach to your cells and get into your body. All the mRNA vaccines do is teach your DNA how to make one of those spike proteins, to which we make the antibodies to fight them off. Then when the job is done, the vaccine self-destructs. mRNA vaccines don't put the virus in your body in any way, shape, or form. They just bring the code.
Can't we just do herd immunity?
Basically, herd immunity means that enough of the population is immune to the virus so it doesn't have enough hosts to spread to and effectively dies out. If 70% of the population becomes immune, they become roadblocks for the virus, preventing it from spreading to the remaining 30%. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, in order to reach herd immunity, we need, immunity. And there's two ways to get it. One is normal herd immunity. Can we do normal herd immunity? Sure. All we need to do is get 70% of the population infected. That's 229 million US citizens. At the current death rate of 1.6%, that is 3.6 million dead Americans. That's a lot. And that's not even accounting for hospital overload. On the other hand, vaccine-assisted herd immunity achieves basically the same goal, but instead of 229 million people getting sick and or dying, you give those people the vaccine. If we vaccinate 70% of people, the virus won't be able to spread to the 30% who can't get vaccinated. And a heck of a lot less people have to die for it.
But we're basically out of the pandemic anyway.
No, we're not. See this graph? As of writing this video, we are here. The all-time peak was 2.5 weeks ago. And these are just the reported cases. I don't know what else to tell you. We've got a long way to go.
But I heard of someone who got the vaccine and still got COVID. Doesn't even work?
Of course it still works. The Moderna and Pfizer vaccines have 94.1% and 95% effectiveness respectively a few weeks after their second doses. But there are two very important things to note here. 1. 95 is not 100. Unfortunately, neither vaccine thus far has a 100% success rate, so it's still technically possible to get infected. Once enough people get vaccinated and we get closer to a vaccine-assisted herd immunity, not only will there be way less people spreading the virus in the first place, you and your fellow vaccinated friends will have an A-grade prevention against the few people that do. But it's still technically possible, and is one reason to keep careful in the months it takes to get everyone dosed up. 2. It takes a bit to kick in. These vaccines don't reach their full effectiveness until 7 to 14 days after their second dose. A lot of these people getting COVID after vaccination are getting it in between their first and second doses when it hasn't reached full effectiveness. Even one shot is better than nothing though. The Pfizer gives you 50% immunity within 12 days of the first shot, then the booster really pushes you over the edge. And here's the kicker. According to a recent CDC report, getting a COVID-19 vaccine may also help keep you from getting seriously ill even if you do get COVID-19. So even if you hit a perfect storm of bad luck and catch the virus after vaccination, you are still better off than if you were unvaccinated. Remember, if you get all your shots on a perfect schedule, then you'll reach maximum effectiveness 28 days after your first shot with Pfizer or 42 days after your first shot with Moderna. So please, when you get vaccinated, don't immediately run to the nearest bar or house party or group hug. I don't know how normal people socialize. Give it a bit. You've done so well this far, and at that point, you're in the home stretch.
But we don't even know what's in it.
Actually, we do. You can find all the ingredients for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines explicitly spelled out on the CDC website. You should probably check it out if you have any significant allergies. And if some of those ingredients sound scary to you, like potassium chloride, monobasic potassium phosphate, sodium chloride, dibasic sodium phosphate dihydrate, sucrose, how do you feel about these? Ethyl ethanoate, 3-methylbutyraldehyde, pentanol, methylbutyrate, hexanol, decanol, a whole bunch of other things that I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce. Well, that's just part of the composition of a blueberry. Science just sounds scary sometimes. Also, sodium chloride is just salt.
But I heard vaccines in general are dangerous.
Honestly, that's a whole other can of worms you can make 100 videos about. But basically, that whole movement is rooted in a 1998 article by Andrew Wakefield that has since been retracted by the original journal, directly refuted by the New England Journal of Medicine and the British Medical Journal, among others. And there's significant allegations of fraud, including falsifying the diagnoses and the timelines, and conflict of interest to boot. Wakefield even got a 2-page letter from his superiors at the University College London's medical school that said, and I quote, "We remain concerned about a possible serious conflict of interest between your academic employment by UCL and your involvement with Carmel. This concern arose originally because company's business plan appears to depend on premature, scientifically unjustified publication of results which do not conform to the rigorous academic and scientific standards that are generally expected." Yikes. So all in all, I can pretty confidently say that both current COVID vaccines are pretty dang safe, and the new ones coming through the pipeline, like Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca, look promising too. And with the new strain that is 70% more contagious and most likely to be dominant one in March, getting vaccinated is more important than ever. I know a lot of our instincts when confronting something terrifying is to prove that it can't control our lives, that we won't be subject to it, that we won't live in fear, which is all well and good, but this virus isn't conscious. It's not a dictator, it's not a terrorist, it's not a 1980s cartoon villain that'll shrivel into dust if you just shout that you're not afraid. The virus doesn't care. I repeat, the virus doesn't care. It will infect you all the same. We are very, very, very lucky that science has achieved so dang much in even just the last 100 years that we have the tools to fight this thing. It'll be a long, arduous process, but the fact that we even have an effective vaccine this early is a combination of a lot of brilliant people working very hard and, frankly, a miracle. So let's respect what they've given us by wearing our masks and social distancing and washing our hands with soap and water and avoiding crowded areas for just a few more months. Because for the first time in a while, I really, truly feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You don't want to live in fear. I agree. And the way to do that, the only way to fight back, is to get vaccinated. This video was made on behalf of Charlene's Dream, which is a charity organization in Daytona Beach. It's a warm and welcoming haven for those with cancer seeking to get information. It's a resource center wrapped up to look like a boutique. It's a place to try on wigs, hats, mastectomy bras, lymphedema sleeves, and breast prostheses. It is a place where all cancer patients can feel free to ask questions and get free help and assistance. If you want to check them out, go to their website at charlenestream.com if you are interested in their services or if you want to donate. If not, I do also have some videos on my channel that give more information. I'll put them in the description.